paintings are full of unsolved mysteries. To understand the mystery of each picture, you have to get acquainted with the life and thoughts of its creator. Let these paintings come to life. Watch our new TV program at the gallery.
The artist Dosbol Kassymov became the acknowledged master of easel painting in the early noughties. And almost immediately his paintings started being copied, and his style being imitated. His paintings were leaving the workshop when the paints were still fresh. So what is this interest caused by, and how do these images appear? What makes its lure? We will try to understand it on the example of Tunguik painting. Historic reference. Tunguik, Baluan, Sholak and Galiya painting. Author Dosbol Kassymov, 2012. Size of canvas 120 by 200 centimeters. Oil on canvas.
Tunguik, this word is polysemantic, because Tunguik is not just eternity, it is bottomlessness. It is hopeless bottomlessness, I would say.
The artist painted Tunguik painting for the Republican contest, dedicated to Kazakh epos, history and national traditions. Most of all, I wanted to avoid cliché that he should be shown riding a horse in vivid Japan with a beautiful ornament. Most of all, I wanted to avoid this, but also to show poet's nature. Biographical reference. Dosbol Kassymov, member of the Union of Artists of Kazakhstan, the honored cultural worker, painter, born in 1960 in Shchuchinsk. In 1986, graduated from the Almaty Institute of Theatre and Art. Participated in designing Kazakhstani national currency. He is a dreamer, a visionary, a lyricist. He is romantic, and one way or another, this always reflected in his paintings. The author of set of gold and silver coins dedicated to Albai's 150th anniversary, creator of the series of Kazakhstan's outstanding personalities portraits. His paintings are exhibited in museums and in private collections in Kazakhstan, Russia, Great Britain, Australia and South Korea. He doesn't paint still life, he doesn't paint landscapes, but he's interested in ideas. It's the story behind the painting that is interesting for him. And his attitude to life is just like that. It is positive. He is a very positive person. He is the singer of harmony, beauty and love to life. Reverent attitude to painting and to beauty which the great artists create was something that aroused in Dosbol at an early age. When he was a little child, among the numerous books at home, he found a big grey one called Drawing and Painting. A big grey book with black and white illustrations and some taped-on colour pages. I was poring over these illustrations. They were a window to the world of art for me. I was studying everything, every drawing, every stroke. This book was a gallery, a Louvre for me. Dosbol's childhood was taking place at Kokshetau outskirts, among the boisterous beauty of the steppe opens, blue lakes and mountains, covered with coniferous forests. Dosbol was the youngest in a big family with 7 children. All of them were drawing. This was a common thing, and parents were not particularly happy with it. Pursuing the goal, bringing what he started to end, working eagerly in spite of any difficulties, Dosbol Kassymov learned these lessons quite early from his father. He earned his first salary when he was the 8th grade student, when he was sent on the internship to a local cinema venue to draw posters. Ironically, it was my first experience of working with big canvases. I felt as if I were a real artist, standing next to the canvas of that poster and was painting. I remember there was that fairy tale, Finish the Shining Falcon, and I remember I drew a huge eye and wrote beautifully, Finished the Shining Falcon. And then the director came and rejected my work, and I had to paint it all over. Dosbol Kassymov paintings are hardly referred to one certain style. On the one hand, there is accuracy of presentation, peculiar to classical realism. On the other hand, they contain the freshness of palette and love to sunshine, which bring him together with impressionists. Historic reference. Impressionism is the painting system which aspires after simple and immediate visualization of impression in the way the artist perceives it. French artists Claude Monet, Auguste Renoir and Camille Pissarro are considered to be the founders of this style. Freshness of visualization the Impressionists gave us is now always present in technique of the modern artists, even if they work in seemingly academic, realistic school. I don't like being called realist, but I don't like being called impressionist as well. Let me explain why. Because each artist is after something of his own. Almost every painting Dosbol Kassymov created possesses one amazing quality. They depict true-to-life fragments, making us feel our presence inside it. It seems that you are the participant of the action taking place right here, right now. A painting should be simple, externally simple, but it should possess some very deep implication. He wants to be a storyteller. He wants to communicate something to the world. And it can be anything, starting with mythology. Mythologems are interesting to him, and so are folklore and people's history. And he derives interesting plot lines from these mythologems and in this folklore. On the surface of lake, in the water reflection, we see the mount with a contour looking like the famous Ogjetpes rock. It is a direct reference to a locality. We understand that the main characters meet near Oly-Ekol, or Borovoi Lake, where the artist's homeland is. Baluan Sholak is a fellow landsman for me. Makinskaya village, where he lived and worked, is just 20 kilometers away from my home. That's why he is so interesting for me. Historic reference. Baluan Sholak. His real name is Nurmagomedov Baymurzaoly, Kazakh Akin, a poet and composer, and a famous wrestler, born in 1864.
He was showing body checking. He put a pole and they say up to 10 people clung to it and he lifted this weight.
Baluan Sholak is translated as a fingerless wrestler. That's the way he was nicknamed when he was young, because he was very strong but had no fingers on his right hand. He lost them as a result of a burn. He was a favorite of society. He was the one to whom everything could be forgiven.
Of course, Baluan Sholak was an Akin. He was an artist.
Our hero uses different methods. Thick strokes or greyish colours are not of his style. The artist uses bright rich colours, which associate with joy and purity. And it is our artist's main peculiar feature. Galiya was one of the most beautiful women of that time.
Nevertheless, she had a very decisive and pushing temper. Few could dare to argue with her, and she was very headstrong.
She sang, danced. She was a vivid and beautiful woman. When she was a child, Galiya was promised as a wife to the son of her father's friend. But when the time for marriage came, she understood that she didn't love her would-be husband. She lived with him for a year, and after a fight, she went back to her father, because she couldn't go against her feelings.
Her husband sued her. He wanted either his wife or bride money back. And Galiya boldly spoke in court. She said she needed no defense attorney, and she convinced B's court that she was right, that she couldn't live with her husband she didn't love, and the judges took her side. And then she kept prize money, the compensation for the moral damage of living in her husband's awl, and she released herself.
The story of prototypes of Tungi characters is almost Shakespeare's story. Galiya, like Juliet, resists marriage without love. She insists on the right of being with the one she loves, coming into conflict with traditional principles. Tungi painting is the story of the two lovers who cannot be together. The boat here is a symbol of destiny because everyone has his own one. Lovers feel the bitter outcome. Their faces are sad and thoughtful. Baluan, with Dombra in his hand, shares his feelings with the beloved. Poet's belt is thrown over Galiya's boat, but it is not tied up to it, and it intensifies the feeling of the slipping away destiny and impossibility of being together. Story of lovers who are not destined to be together is one of the most popular in art. The most well-known loving couple is Romeo and Juliet. Shakespeare's characters inspired many painters to create beautiful works. As exciting is the story of love of Antony and Cleopatra. After receiving a false news of Cleopatra's death, Antony kills himself. When Cleopatra learns of her lover's death, she dies as well. One more story of the great love is Tristan and Isolde. Isolde was the wife of the king, but she fell in love with Tristan. When the king learned about it, he sent his rival away from the country. Tristan died of grief, and the news of his death killed Isolde. On the canvas we see a bright, joyful picture, but the main plotline opens up in details. We see that the characters' boats are very close to each other. They almost collide, but the main characters are in relaxed and static state. They do not look at each other, and the artist, playing with each detail, makes the spectator think of the characters' inner feelings. One of the artist's most significant paintings, Kultegin, was made to order. The character of the legendary hero and commander captivated the artist. Kultegin for me is a landmark work, which I painted at a difficult time of my life. It was a new character at that moment. His memorial had just been opened, and I had to create a real image out of the rock with a nominally depicted face. Historic reference. Kultegin, born in 685, died in 731. Political figure and military leader of the Second Turkic Khaganate, he became famous as a heroic warrior and participant of numerous campaigns, which provided Turks with hegemony in Central Asia. At that moment, I thought that such man should lose everything in order to have no fear of losing anything, and for some reason that was the way I saw him. At that moment, I was losing everything as well. And the whole world was crashing. And I had to paint this warrior. They say, heaven gives us strength. And what is heaven? It is light. The warrior of light. You are the warrior who brings light. Sometime later, in some mystical way, his destiny brought the artist together with Paulo Coelho. The writer came to Kazakhstan looking for material for his new book, and Dosbol Kassymov was asked to accompany him in expedition. I was painting my warrior of light, and Coelho was writing his warrior of light. Historic reference. Paulo Coelho is a Brazilian poet and writer, born in 1947, published over 20 books. Among the Russian audience, he is particularly famous for his Alchemist novel. It was interesting how a man, a Western culture bearer, how he understood and saw my land, and how he understood me. When we were traveling across steppes and getting cold, it was cold at that moment. Meeting Dosbol inspired Paulo Coelho to create the character of the Kazakh artist called Dos in his novel Zahir. The Kazakhstani edition of this novel were illustrated by Joly and Dosbol Kassymov. He plunges into literature, he reads and he lives with this idea day and night. He sleeps and sometimes he can't sleep because of this same idea until he embodies it in something. Even Paulo Coelho admitted, when he saw the book, that it was the best edition all around the world. It feels like us, spectators, are standing on the high bank and looking at the characters from above. And as if there are no surroundings, no landscape. The artist shows these surroundings only due to the masterly painted reflection in the river. The end of love story of Baluan and Galiya was sad. Soon after his lover's divorce, the Akan was imprisoned because of the false accusations of livestock theft. And Galiya, submitting to her father's unpersuadable will, marries again. I'm often criticized for working on my paintings for too long. One could paint 3 or 4 paintings in this time. But I am ashamed to say that you first paint for 5 days or a week and then delete it all, because it is not what you need and you don't like it. He is talented in everything. Why? Because with his whole heart, he plunges into what he devotes himself to at this moment. Whatever he does, he plunges into it. Then the chair disappears, then one apple disappears, then the second, and then just a color stain remains. There's just one apple, and you think it's enough. And then you think the painting is ready. Maybe there is your work underlying, shining through it, but the painting becomes self-existent and finished. At least I see it finished, and no one sees what remains under layers of paints. The artist uses bright and rich palette. He expresses internal deep emotions of his characters with them, but he leaves them motionless. By that, the artist achieves the incredible expression of his work. Dosbol Kassymov's painting is full of sadness and light and hope that love never dies. It lives in hearts. There are people, art experts, professionals and artists, who do not accept my art at all. They think it does not comply with the modern trends. And sometimes I am blamed for the desire to be liked by spectators and clients, and that I work on order. He no longer looks to the authorities, to that he might be misunderstood or not liked by masters. Maybe it became not so important for him, and he started doing what is closer to him and his heart requires. And he always does what his heart wills. I have come to understanding that it doesn't matter what you draw or paint. How you paint, this is what matters. Dosbol Kassymov does not cultivate something negative. He doesn't get stuck on it. His aspiration is to see and praise harmony and beauty of life. Praise it in seeable, tangible material images, clear to everyone. The artist doesn't want to notice dark sides of life. He thinks that art should console and inspire people. At least for a while, it should take away the spectator from the external vain and cruel world to the other world, where beauty, pleasure, winged sentiments, and faithfulness of love reign. And this is the main lure of the modern Kazakhstani master Dosbol Kassymov's beautiful works.